Hello, this demonstration is a step-by-step RPSIT analysis for an example MAG region project location. The characteristics of this urban area location include a four-legged signalized intersection and adjacent unsignalized intersection. Please note that the purpose of this demonstration is to illustrate the functionality of the RPSIT and possible uses of the materials produced from the analysis. Use of this information does not guarantee eligibility for funds that may be sought for a given project. Accessing the RPSIT will orient users in the location module. On the top left, you will see tabs for tools, case studies, an FAQ, about the RPSIT, and a link to the current MAG Strategic Transportation Safety Plan. The last four are self-explanatory and can be explored at your convenience. However, we will highlight tools in this demonstration. The first step is to enter your basic project information. You are prompted for a project name, cross streets, and a brief description of the project. Next, the user will select known crash patterns and intersection traffic control. It is up to the user to select all crash types or the top 2 or 3 predominant crash types experienced at the location. This will depend on the desire for a more comprehensive review of countermeasures or a more focused analysis on known crash types. Be advised that selecting all crash types will return more countermeasures. If you don't have crash data, no worries. You can always contact the MAG safety team. We would be happy to provide crash data for your analysis. Regardless, if your location is within a mile of generators such as multifamily housing, multi-use paths, or trails, we recommend that you always select bicyclist and pedestrian to ensure that you are considering these populations proactively. Alternatively, the analysis can be run with no crash data and is proactive in nature. This would be similar to selecting the Show All countermeasures to view the 140 plus countermeasures in the database. The first tool we will demonstrate is accessed under Tools by clicking the Crash Cost Calculator. For this example, 10 years of crash data was entered, divided by 10 years for crashes per year. The cost per crash factors are from the Arizona Motor Vehicle Crash Facts for each severity. Applying these factors result in an average annual cost to the community of nearly $540,000. This resource can be used to facilitate discussions on why evaluating safety early in the project planning process is important. We will refer to this later in the demonstration. On all modules, there is a Help button on the top right. In this module, the Location Details Help includes the recommendation to enable cookies for the ability to come back to the analysis using the Load Projects function. In addition, definitions for the various crash patterns is provided below for review. If you have a question that the help narratives do not provide, you can access the FAQ to see if you can find it there. You can proceed to the Prompts module by clicking Next. In the Prompts module, the user will select location infrastructure and condition parameters for the tool to query. The first prompt relates to through traffic vehicle volume. The associated Help button for this element provides definitions for low and high volumes in urban and rural conditions. If your project did not include collection of volume data, there's a handy estimator you can use, again by accessing Tools and by clicking the Volume Estimator. The estimator is modeled after a Florida DOT methodology that provides a more detailed evaluation than what most standards provide for just using number of lanes. There are other volume estimators or models that you could use if you have access to them. However, for convenience, simplicity, and accessibility to a wider audience, we have included the estimator for easy access within the tool. Feel free to use whatever resource you feel comfortable with. For this project analysis, we selected 6 lanes total for both directions, 35 miles an hour, as the north-south is posted at 35 and the east-west is posted at 25 miles an hour. There are no medians, so we selected undivided and indicated the presence of both designated left and right turn lanes. Our level of service can be defined by an observed moderate number of vehicles stopped and selecting the expected level of service D. The result is a maximum average daily traffic two-way volume estimate of 45,000. Remember that the prompt asks for vehicles per hour on any approach. To back that out, we divided by 2 to separate the directions and applied a k-factor of 0.11 for hourly volume. The result is approximately 2,400, which is higher than 1,000, so we selected high. Guidance for each prompt can be found by clicking the associated Help button. To assist when completing the prompts, the user can select the field review checklist on the top right. In this case, we select for approach signalized. This enables the user to download and print the checklist that can be given to an intern or other team member to go to the location and note the various conditions and infrastructure characteristics. You can come back to your project to complete the prompts using the Load Project in the Location module, provided cookies were enabled. Just for fun, let's see what a 5-approach signalized checklist looks like. You may be thinking these sheets are rather cluttered. Rest assured, we have field tested all checklists and found them to be intuitively laid out for these purposes. However, feedback on any element of the tool is always welcomed. We can now proceed to the next module. The summary page provides the ability to review and, using the toggles, indicate the countermeasures that will be further evaluated. Helpful information is provided for each, includes countermeasure description, applicability, and other factors that may want to be considered when deciding for further evaluation. You will note the crash types are color-coded: green for always consider, blue for sometimes consider, and gray for undetermined consideration type. Cost here should be considered as low, medium, or high, as a more detailed cost estimation will be done specific to the site conditions for countermeasures chosen. The goal here was to provide useful yet high-level information and at the same time being non-prescriptive. Effectiveness is based on recent research or as described in documentation in the Federal Highway Administration Crash Modification Factor Clearinghouse. Filtering can be done for consideration type, crash type, cost, and effectiveness. Select Clear Filter to, well, clear the filters. Once you have reviewed all countermeasures offered and indicated those for future evaluation, you will note on the bottom right, feedback shows that out of 116 countermeasures offered, 19 have been selected for further evaluation. Again, you have a Help button for guidance specific to the summary module. Clicking Next will take us to the report. The Help button in the Report module provides information on how the report will be provided. To that end, the user will fill in their first and last name, organization, and email address. This information is not stored necessarily, rather needed to tie the input and output for the specific project for the user's future reference, as well as to direct the report to the email provided. The user has the option to start a new report or go back to the summary module. Feedback and questions can be submitted by clicking the Contact Us button. Once complete, click Submit. You'll receive a no-reply email from mag.rpsit@azmag.gov. Please check your junk box and contact us if you have not received your report within the 5 minutes of submitting. Click on the Attach Report to view and print. You could also attach the completed field review checklist if you have utilized that resource. There are 44 pages in this report seen here. We will review a few key pages. The first page of the report includes crash type selected, traffic control, number of countermeasures analyzed, and the list of prompts and responses. This can be used to verify the accuracy of entries to the best of your knowledge and reviewed with your team. The following set of pages for the countermeasures indicated for no further evaluation with the comments provided. You will note some common responses for the treatments that are either already in place or specifics about roadway characteristics that do not meet warrants for the countermeasure, as an example. Following that, you will have a report on countermeasures that have been selected for further evaluation. Here's some common notes including rationale for various factors being considered. As an example, one considered the project to include raised pavement markers on the intersection approaches for their potential to mitigate side swipe crashes experienced at this intersection. On the last page, you will see your name, email, and the time the report request was submitted for future reference. Outside of the RPSIT analysis, your next step may be to develop a project layout such as the example shown here. Please note that this part of the demonstration refers to reports and calculators from the RPSIT, but the example may be developed by the user as part of the project planning process. You may have collaborated with other agency staff to discuss the countermeasure report and refined your comments and notes to include some preliminary cost estimation. Referring to the report, you see the layout includes all the countermeasures noticed, focusing in on the crash types and considerations. Included here, you see the striping refresh, raised pavement markers on approach, positive offset improvements for the eastbound and northbound left turn lanes, westbound left storage length, and finally the access management for the adjacent unsignalized intersection. A left-in, left-out was ultimately chosen instead of the more temporary flexible bollard treatment. Striping, including the extension of the westbound left, is estimated at about $1,500, and the left-in, left-out median is estimated at about $250,000 for a total of $270,000. Now may be a good time to refer to that crash cost calculator again. You will remember that the annual cost of the community is an average of nearly $540,000. Comparing this to the preliminary cost estimate, you can see the stark contrast between the cost of the chosen safety countermeasures and what the crash experience has cost the community annually. If you will be using this analysis for developing a funding request, you may be required to develop a benefit cost analysis or evaluation. Using the most recent 5 years annualized crash data with the crash reduction for each countermeasure is again applied to the Arizona crash cost or unit cost. Annualizing the cost of the project with the benefit or cost associated with the crash reduction results in a benefit cost of 12.6 to 1. We hope the RPSIT provides value in advancing safety in your project planning process. As mentioned previously, any questions or feedback is welcome via email to rpsit@azmag.gov. Collaboratively, we can realize our shared values of elevating safety to reduce severity and death on our roadways. Thank you.